In efforts to reduce our carbon footprints, we believe that forest storage is a great way to start. By putting a stop to global deforestation, we can achieve a whole wedge of carbon emission in as short as 50 years. In essence, cutting down less trees means cutting down as much as 2 billion tons of carbon from the atmosphere. A specific population who would be in favor of this is all of the world's biodiversity, since their homes will no longer be taken away. In addition, environmentalists would also view this position as friendly. By contrast, paper companies and businesses that rely on wood would most likely see this as a conflict.
The process of soil storage is described as the conversion of vegetation to cropland. By applying carbon management strategies to all the world's existing agricultural soils, a wedge of emission savings could be achieved. Since the process is already in place and has a lost cost, it would benefit the world as a whole. A positive factor is that while all the other wedges can only be applied to certain parts of the world, agriculture takes place all over the earth. This method would benefit farmers since now they can sell carbon credits. It would upset companies with significant carbon emissions since they now have to buy these carbon credits to offset their emissions.
The next way to reduce carbon emission comes from converting from gasoline to hybrid cars in order to offer a more efficient and safe fuel burning method by increasing our vehicle's MPG. Hybrid cars will use electricity while driving at speeds considered city miles per gallon and will not emit gasoline. However, when driving at high speeds considered highway MPG, the vehicles switch to gasoline power, which is more efficient at high speeds, therefore burning less gas and doubling the overall MPG of the vehicle, since the electricity prevents gasoline from being used for the entire duration of the car's drive time. This switch will be good for everyday car drivers because it will reduce money spent on gas. However, this may be difficult for companies who must think of creative ways to include the hybrid driving system into their already designed vehicles.
Yet another cheap method of reducing our carbon percentage would be via transport conservation. By emphasizing the importance of urban planning and featuring the use of public transportation and electronic communication, the world's cars would be able to cut their miles traveled by 50%, therefore resulting in a stabilization wedge. A group who would be in favor of transport conservation would be workers who would rather take the bus to their jobs and read a book or catch up on some sleep on their way rather than having to become stressed about the traffic. On the other hand, people who are against technology replacing human interaction will be against this, since social media would become a substitute for personal meetings.
Due to the fact that the building sector is so massive, it has been predicted that it has the technological and economical potential to cut emissions in half. By using building efficiency, not only do we decrease the need to revamp old buildings, but also reducing the amount of supplies that would be needed to make new buildings. A way to achieve a wedge using this method would be by cutting emissions by 25% in all contemporary and existing commercial buildings. This way, carbon savings will come from initiative designs such as roof insulation and solar water heating. Having green buildings will set standards for the green building industry that will both benefit and upset the companies.
The sixth way to reduce carbon is by the use of solar energy. By cutting the use of coal-based electricity, which is over 1/3 of the carbon dioxide production, this will be reduced by 70%. This would mean putting an end to the action most responsible on the planet for the emission of CO2. This will be good for homeowners looking to cut down on electricity-based expenses, but will be a huge roadblock for companies who would switch from coal power to solar power. Another wedge can result from switching from a petroleum fuel source to the use of biofuels. Although it won't be easy, the switch to biofuels in our cars will reduce the use of energy from geologically recent carbon fixation, like plants produced from living organisms. Unlike petroleum, which is unkind to plant life, the burned biofuel will be recycled through the plants, who will exchange the CO2 for oxygen, instead of die from burnt petroleum pollution. This will be good for the United States because it will reduce our reliance on foreign energy, but may be hard on everyday car drivers as it is difficult to convince all to switch cars.
A convenient but expensive approach would be through the use of wind hydrogen. Since the only emission product when burned is water vapor, many people view this method as desirable, in addition to the fact that wind hydrogen does not require to be mass-produced. However, scientists predict that about 2 million windmills would be needed for one wedge of emissions reduction, making this option quite expensive. Since the use of wind hydrogen will require a large piece of land to place all the windmills, neighboring countries might find this a conflict, which would result in the immigration of people, therefore, forcing a political issue. By contrast, people who would be in favor of this would most likely be the population, which does not want to invest in the building of an infrastructure for the sole purpose of fuel distribution.
Taxpayers and consumers would give our methods a 2. This is due to the fact that switching to biofuels and solar electricity would be a bit expensive. Manufacturers could be halted if all of the wedges in our triangle became true, so they would give our methods a 2. This is mostly due to the fact that they would be obligated to switch to solar power sources or be more efficient designing buildings.
Developed country governments would give this plan a 3 since they have the option to create an economy based upon this plan. However, they would not like it due to the potential high cost of options such as wind hydrogen.
The energy companies would give our methods a 3. This is because our methods would be much more cost effective in the long run if the nation were to switch to solar power. However, the change could be difficult.
Industrialized country governments would give this a 4 since they have the stable economy and are able to contribute to the overall betterment of the world due to their advanced infrastructure. Environmental groups would give our methods a 5 since they are in favor towards everything that saves animal life and decreases the world's pollution.